Alright guys, so today we're going to take a look at the CZ Scorpion Evo magazines from Manticore Arms. We're going to compare them to the factory mags, so there's a point of reference there. But before we dig into the actual features of the magazine, I want to show you what they look like in some taco pouches for point of reference. So if we look at the regular taco pouches, you can see that they fit not much different than the other, just a little bit taller, which would make sense. So you can see these are bottomed out all the way. So side by side, they look about like that. And if you have the extended taco pouches, it's going to look a little bit more like this. So again, side by side, bottomed out. You can see the difference in size there and how they fit. So there's your point of reference for that. Now let's look at the magazines side by side. You can see that the geometry is nearly identical in basically every way. The material, whatever type of polymer they use, seems to be pretty close to the same. And every feature on the magazine is pretty similar. So base plates are very similar. Bodies, front of the magazine, sides, spines. The front of the magazine is a little different because you can see the sprue where they took it out of the mold there is a little bit different than there and how that was manufactured. And you can see on the side the markings are very, very clear on the Manticore Arms magazine. So if you look at the factory magazine, you can see right there, there's a slight, very faint marking for the 30 round indicator on the factory magazines. And it's pretty much void of any other markings other than the base plate. So when you look at the Manticore Arms magazine, you can see a very, very clear raised 12, 22, and 32 round marking indicator with the lines, as well as their design by marking and Prepper Gun Shop marking there. So this is a clear improvement compared to the factory magazine because you can much more easily see where your rounds are, and when the indicator is showing you the round count thereof. Also has a little line so you know exactly which round it's talking about, which is pretty cool. It's just nice being able to look at these a lot easier instead of get your magnifying glass and try and find that little marking there. And it's only got the one at the bottom, not 3 separate ones. So a clear improvement. You can live without because you just catch your bullets and deal with it. You'll be fine. But still a very nice feature to include on the magazine. Now, the big difference between these two is the feed lips, and that's what everybody really talks about. You can see there's the back of the magazines, and you have the steel feed lips on the left and the plastic on the right. The side view, or profile view there, and then a front view right there. So the early reports of the factory magazines, some people had examples of mags that were cracking in this 90-degree corner here on either side, because they would drop test them, they would freeze them, they would use them a lot, whatever they would do to test the magazine. That was a point of contention because it wasn't necessarily agreed upon whether it was reliable or not. So to this point, I've had these mags and these mags for an equal amount of time because when I ordered the gun, these came with it. I ordered these as well. So for about 2 years or so, I've had the gun, and it's sitting at about a rough round count of 4,000 to 4,500 rounds total, and I've had no issue with that so far. So if you take a look at the metal feed lips on the Manticore Arms magazine, you can see that it's one piece. So this is an assembly here. It wasn't molded into the magazine from the manufacturing process. They made the body, then made the lips, and then assembled them together. So you can see that this wraps around all the way to the back, all the way to the side. So, not the front. So The little tabs on the magazine body that stick out are how this locks into place, and it's very, very similar to a Lancer magazine in that regard. So I've had no issues with these bending or coming loose and falling off the magazine or anything like that. So to this point, these magazines have worked for me, so I can't complain about their reliability. However, I can complain about their consistency, because this magazine will always lock my Scorpion to the rear on an empty magazine, the bolt will. This won't. I've looked at it and fiddled with it, trying to figure out why that may be, and my best guess is I didn't have enough coils in the magazine to give it enough tension on the follower to push up the slide or the bolt release to keep it locked to the rear. So if the gun runs empty, it won't lock this to the rear. If you have an empty chamber or the bolt locked to the rear already and you shove this in the gun really, really hard, then yeah, it may lock it up to the rear, but only that one time. And then after that, bolt goes home, you try and lock it to the rear again with the magazine already in the gun, and this follower gets pushed down and stays down just enough so it won't lock it to the rear. So that's the thing that I don't care for myself, because it gets in the way of training. Alright? Now, if you're not training with this gun, if you don't really care, you just want the 2 extra rounds, because it's a 30, it's a 32. If you want those 2 extra bullets and the metal feed lips make you feel warm and fuzzy on the inside, and you like them that much better, then rock on. However, for me, when I have a gun like this, or an AR, or an AK, or whatever the case may be, I'm typically going to take that to a class and train with it. So this mag, I can guarantee will consistently lock it to the rear. This one won't. So this is very similar to if I was running an AR, it'll always lock it to the rear. I can always reload the same way, with a few exceptions here and there. This one, I can't do that. This is going to be like an AK. The bolt's going to go home, I'm going to strip the magazine out, put a new magazine in, rack the bolt, and then keep on keeping on. The problem is when you mix these together is you have an inconsistency. It's very similar to taking an AK magazine, putting in a bolt hold open follower, and having that one mag in your rotation. What's going to happen is you're going to be training, unless you've done it enough to know and recognize the sign of what the fuck just happened. You're going to expect this mag to not lock to the rear. But you're going to grab the one that did with the bolt hold open, and the gun's going to be halfway open, halfway closed, and you're going to be really confused. So you can't be consistent with your reload every single time. So if you're trying to be smooth and fast and efficient, having these two together is not a good idea. That being said, they do work. Now, as far as a point of concern I have for these magazines versus these, I would like to look at this here. So you can see that the actual fitment here of the magazine, it's 90 degrees down this way and 90 degrees that way. That's the way you expect it to be. Well, if you push up on this, you can see that gap up here. So my concern with this is that over time, this little tab here is going to get wore out because of this constant rubbing back and forth, and that's going to be from loading the gun to ejecting the magazine to loading the magazine to shooting the magazine and everything in between. So all the uses that's going to wear on this piece, okay? I don't know if it'll wear it out to the point that it'll actually stop functioning reliably. To this point, it has not done that. However, if you look at a Lancer magazine, they decided to fix this problem. Because here, you can see that this here wraps all the way around. This here does too. However, I can't push up on this. I can't mess with the feed lips. There's actually a groove that this feed lip sits into. So, Lancer, having a good reputation for good quality magazines, decided it was a good idea to have 1, 2, 3 locking points so these lips don't come loose and fiddle around on the magazine. but Manticore Arms did not. Is that to say that Manticore Arms magazines are not reliable? I don't know. I think they're fine. I think they work fine. For me, to this point, they have. However, it is a point of concern that I'm not sure about yet. With that being said, both of these mags work just fine. The size difference is there. Being able to grab them in and out of a pouch, one's easier because it sticks up a little bit further. One has metal feet lips, one has plastic, so one will crack, one will bend. And that's really about it, other than the price difference, depending on where you shop around. So at the end of the day, they both work. I would use either one. But if I had my choice, I would pick a bunch of these versus any of these because of the consistency, which will be better if you're actually trying to use this gun for any serious purpose, whatever that may be for you. So, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And until next time, y'all take it easy.